So I want to talk about sketchbooks. This is called the Master's Touch sketchbook, and I got a bigger one. It's a 14 by 17. It's a Master's Touch Fine Art Studio sketchbook. The reason I got the big one, which is a 14 by 17, is because the sheets were pretty big, and the reason I wanted them pretty big is so I could do some larger designs, I guess. And then what I also like about it is the paper is kind of weighty. It's a little bit thicker than regular print paper. It's a little bit heavier. It's almost like having two print papers, copy paper sheets together. I also have and got this one. This is called the Master's Touch, same company. You notice this was $5.99. This was $16.99. This is a 9.5 by 6. I like carrying it around, put it in my purse. The reason I have this one is so I could practice different feathers, because I like doing a lot of very intricate small work. And so I'm going to open it so that you can see, and here's like some feathers that I did and I was practicing. I do feathers in two different ways, and so I'll show you how I do them in a minute. But I noticed that it was harder for me to do larger feathers the way I was doing them before, so I kind of changed my technique because I wanted to see them bubble more. And so these are just different designs and some, you know, writing down thoughts, I guess, of, and so here, it doesn't have to be beautiful, people. It just has to be sketched on. I've had some sketchbooks that are so pretty that I spent like $20 on that I won't write on. Because this was a design I wanted to see if I could figure out how to do for a design on the long arm. And I noticed that it looked better when I saw it on whatever thing I saw it on. I think I saw it on a clip art, but then when I started trying to draw it, it was a lot more difficult for me to do it. So I kind of X'd that out of my life and decided not to do it. Sally Terry, Pathway to Better Quilting. She talks about 5 different steps that you need to learn. I really do like this book. She talks about the S curve, the C curve, the arc, the line, and the loop. And if you know how to do those basic, they're kind of like the foundation of quilting, I believe. Because if you know how to do the S curve, the C curve, and the loop, everything else can be built on that. So I really do recommend. It's called Pathway to Better Quilting by Sally Terry. Sally Terry also has another book, and it's called Hooked on Feathers, I believe. I truly do like this one better. I really do like this book better because it's honestly the foundation of quilting. Let's say the loop. All quilters know how to do a loop or a C curve. If you know how to do an S curve, or if you know how to do a line, and then the arc. So if you know how to do these different techniques, I'm sure if you're a quilter, you already know instinctively just to do them, but you don't know, you know, you just do them. So for example, when you do a leaf, and then you go around and then you do another leaf. So here's the S curve. Here's the C curve. Here's another S curve. This is, you can consider this an arc. And then here's your loops. Anything you learn, make sure you learn it in 2 different directions. So if you learn how to do the E in one direction, make sure you could do the E in the opposite direction. Because in quilting, you're going in different directions constantly when you're meandering back. So if you know how to do the C curve, make sure you can do the C curve backwards, which you could see that I'm not as neat doing it. If you know how to do the arc, make sure you could do the arc the same way. And then what's neat about her book, which I never write in my books, I made a copy for myself of the sheet that I needed to practice. Like she even has templates, like kindergarten, you know, when you learn how to do writing skills. So what I would do is I would copy this and then I would practice, to practice that skill. And she even has like how to make it looks like a half a heart, which is a C curve in different directions. And so this is a really neat book, especially if you want to get better at your quilting skill, or if you're new at it. Here's my S curve, and here's almost like a backwards S curve, and I loop it here. And so what I do, and let me share you my feather. I like a thin, that's the kind of feather I like. And then I come back and I go back. And there's two ways of how I do it. And the neat thing is go down that loop and go try to go narrow in this area, but try to go wider here. And so you go back and narrow in, and then you feed it back. Now I like to do this weird kind of, I don't know, I just think it looks neat on the long arm. So here I follow down, and do you see how narrow my feather is? I like it kind of narrow here, like you see it here, and then I go down, and then I go back around. And you notice I'm giving myself a little bit more space here, almost like a 1/4 of an inch. And here's almost like a 1/2 inch. And as you go up, then I went back to narrow, back to narrow. And anytime, don't get discouraged when some of your feathers kind of look weird, because then you can go back. Nothing like echoing, man. Echoing makes the feathers look fancy. And so here's your feather. Now, let me show you some of the, if we listen to Sally Terry's book, a feather is really an S curve with an arc. And if you notice that this is an S curve right here, and then this is an arc. It may not be an arc like this, but it's a side arc. And so this has two basic quilting components, the S curve and the arc. And so like going here, this is like a shallow arc. I hope you see that. And so how would you do a leaf? So a leaf, so this, like a hook, is really like a C curve. And I promise you, if you learn the S curve, and if you learn how to do it, if you learn how to do it one direction, and then learn how to do it the opposite direction, I'm trying to think and talk, then you become very proficient on being able to do S curves so you could do a big quilt. So here I am. I just want to show some just very beautiful pictures of some of the quilting. I really do encourage you to practice on your pad, paper, anywhere on with your pen, and practice some of those skills that Terry Sally was talking about. And I'm just showing you some variety of pictures of how the arc, the S curve, the line, the C curve work together. I hope you like this tutorial. I'm going to do another one on my feathers following the stem, and my feathers repeating the arc. I hope you like this tutorial, and please subscribe if you like. See you next time.